Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ask the Author. Tonight we have Corinn Soro with her new book, Fiona Finer, the Interior Designer. And Corinn, if you'd like to tell us a little bit about your process and the book, we would love to hear more.
Sure. So I'll just do a little introduction of the book and kind of how it came about, but please feel free to ask me questions or comments or any of the sort. So, my name's Corinn, and I have always wanted to write a children's book. Even when I was really young, I was saying to Teresa that my family used to say that I should work for Hallmark because I loved to write rhyming, silly cards for my family and friends. And my aptitude test in high school said that I should be a librarian, but I obviously didn't pay attention to that, and I decided to go for interior design. So it's always been a goal. So something that did push me further, though, is I now have two little girls, and with our first little girl, who's now 4, of course, reading is a big passion, and we are constantly reading books. And there was nothing out there about interior designers. And as all of us know as well, there is a lot of misconception behind what interior designers really do. And I've also heard many people say that if you can explain what you do to a kindergartner or first grader, you can very well explain it to everybody, which I think some days we need to get to that easy level, just to break some barriers. And also the rhyming and being a little funny, of course, helps get a message across. So I wrote this book not only for my daughters, but also to raise awareness of what interior designers really do and promote the profession and educate people that we're not HGTV and that we have health, safety, and welfare that we look after for in the public through our designs. So those are the 3 main things that I highlighted in my book. And I wanted it to be a piece that could advocate for the profession and educate people young and old, because as the parents are reading it to the kids, they're also getting an education on what interior designers do too. So that's what I did. And what pushed me to actually finish and write this book, I've had the script of it in the notes portion of my phone for quite a few years, and I would add to it every once in a while. But I always thought, oh gosh, like, I'm not an illustrator, I'm an interior designer, I don't write books. And so that delayed me for definitely some time. But when I was pregnant with our second daughter, I just had another girl in July. I thought, well, I will never have any more free time than now. So I was like, I better get this out here, because I wanted to have it for both my girls, just to say, if you want to do something as an example, I want you to do it. You know, anything that you set your little heart on, you can do it. So I wanted to set an example for them that way, but also quarantine provided a little extra cushion of time. So I got another certification during quarantine and I finished the book.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, so I did have some stumbling blocks, and I was hesitant to illustrate, but I decided to go the route of self-publishing. And so I did a whole bunch of research on that, and it really was not very difficult, being that there's so much information out on the internet in order to do that. So I decided that was going to be my route. And then I also just broke things into small little chunks, because being full-time working mom, just being a full-time worker altogether, we don't always get big, vast chunks of time. So it would be, 20 minutes here or there, and it just kind of added up. So I decided at one point that I needed to not be scared of illustrating my own book and just break it down into pieces. And I would look at my kids' books when I was reading them at night and think, well, these are pretty rudimentary illustrations. I think that I can do something at least passable, right? So that gave me a little bit more confidence as well. Comparison can be the thief of joy, but also I kind of realized, I think we can handle this. So that's what
if we look at your children, your older daughter, will we see Fiona in her?
Fiona probably is a little bit more me than my daughter.
Okay.
I do wear a bun most weekends. We do not own a puppy though. Yeah, so that's what I decided to do. And just similar to some interiors, I created a plan and I divided it into different sections and I developed each character and I kind of pieced them all together. And I based the whole book around the 3 elements of health, safety, and wellness. So that's kind of where that started. And then I just pushed the button and decided to give it a go. So it's been really well received. I've been super excited, even more so than I anticipated, because just out of pure honesty, I just wanted to promote the profession, of course, but it's reached farther than I had expected, which is super exciting.
So you said you self-published.
I did.
So how do you do that with copywriting and all that good stuff for the photos as well as the illustrations as well as the text? And how do you copyright?
Yeah, you can do your own copyright, or you can go through a legal process and get a different type of copyright as well. So I just did my own, and I actually did it through the major Amazon, in which they do print on demand for me, which is also great. So that's worked out really well.
So you didn't have to front anything?
Yes, correct. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, like I did test copies to make sure that everything was okay and things like that. Although some of my friends got so excited that they started ordering it before I even got my test copy.
Oh,
I'm going, no,
wait.
what if I made a mistake? They said it was going to be worth more money.
Yeah.
So that's what I ended up doing, and it's been working really, really well. So it's just so accessible nowadays. You can really do so much, and it's so wide reaching that I've had friends in Europe. Hi, Kathy, and friends in Canada, and so it's really been a blessing. I've been very excited about it.
So do you get a royalty then for each?
I do. Yeah, I do. So that's great too, because I don't have to manage much of it. You know, I can just kind of, I don't have to ship things, because I definitely wouldn't want to go to the post office all the time. So when you order, it's printed specifically for you, and then it gets sent out.
Okay, so the delay it's probably not part of Prime then, because they can't do it.
No, it is Prime.
Wow.
Yeah, it's Prime, available for Christmas gifts.
Wow.
Nice. So that is so fascinating. So how many copies did you order initially?
I just ordered I ordered just one, just to make sure I didn't have any errors that I missed, right? and then I ordered a little bit of a stockpile just to have to, give to some of my family and stuff like that. So but I mean, I can continue to order as needed and that kind of thing. So
wow.
Yeah, it's been really interesting. And I am looking into making it into a Kindle version as well, so you can do that too. So I kind of plan on doing that as well.
Did they do the coding for you? I mean, you just put up as a PDF or?
Yeah, so I developed everything in Illustrator, but I mean, a lot of people you can do it in a majority of different software programs. I mean, people that don't have Adobe Suite kind of stuff can do it as well, because a lot of people don't have access to Adobe kind of things. But I'm familiar. I work with Illustrator, so I did it as such. And you pick your sizing and all that kind of thing, and then it does end up getting uploaded as individual PDFs and put together, and works pretty well. Wasn't that hard.
How are you marketing it, or do they do the marketing for you?
They don't do any marketing for it. So I have been reaching out to some of the design communities, and it's even just amazing. The representatives of companies that I've been part of, I've like posted on my LinkedIn profile and stuff, have just become aware. And several reps have said, oh, I give baby gifts to people to designers when they have a child. And so this is now going to be my go-to, which is so sweet of them. But there really is no other, I've looked, there's no other interior design children's book. So I was happy to fill that avenue.
That's amazing.
Do you have to sell a minimum?
Nope. I could sell one. But I did make it into Amazon's top 100 children's art fiction, which was really exciting for a little time. Yeah.
Oh,
I hope you added that to your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, right.
So is there a maximum time to which they hold your file and will sell your book, or is it indefinite?
It's indefinite. So it's just one upload. And there is a portion that it's kind of funny, because there's a portion that does say, I'm not sure how familiar people are with Amazon. Probably everybody's very, very, a little too familiar with Amazon. That says something to the degree of buy used or buy from another seller. So that's even popped up on mine, and I'm like, there's no way that it's used, like there's no way that somebody's like buying these and selling them again. But Amazon,
meanwhile, your daughter's in her bedroom saying, I'll sell another one of mom's books.
Yeah.
But Amazon does, after a certain point, they do control pricing sometimes, so they can make it go up or down. It doesn't necessarily change like royalties that you get. I think it would have to be a great volume to start being more fluid with its pricing. But Amazon, the giant, does end up controlling some of their pricing. I mean, I set the original price,
right,
and then and they have some suggestions as well. And then whoops, I just dropped it. Amazon does have some control over that portion too, which now I've ordered some other books off of Amazon. And so if you like look at the printed date, where is it? Like mine says June 30th. I mean, that's like then it was like printed on demand, which is kind of funny. So I've noticed that there are some others. You don't realize that some of the books are self-published, and I've gotten some as gifts for our girls, and that's how you can kind of tell it was printed on demand. Didn't know that.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, but the Amazon creates like your ISB number and that kind of thing as well. ISBN.
Where did you find this on Amazon? That you were just like, oh, I'll just go to Amazon and have them be my publisher.
Well, I just researched it, and I think it's called Kindle Direct Publisher. And it's not just Kindle things, because they do hard copy and also other things. I watched a ton of courses on illustration. And then I just took inspiration as well from some of the children's books that I enjoyed how the characters were posed. I just thought about that being dynamic and how their faces were composed, things of that nature. And I developed things off of that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Everybody can do it. More interior design children's books.
Well, I just have to comment that I remember at one fall ASID meeting, you were telling everybody about Bob the Builder and how you were disappointed that Bob the Builder had all these books, like, and characters was part of it, and you were like, where is the interior designer as part of the construction?
That's right.
And I remembered that, so I'm just so impressed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know why it stuck with me.
Yeah. Well, that's very sweet.
So yeah,
Corinn, yes, we can.
Yes. Just little chunks at a time.
Oopsie. Sorry, everybody. Sorry.
Okay.
I didn't turn my phone off. Opa.
Oh, we can't hear you, Kathy. I could read your lips.
I don't know if she's having problems in chat.
I think automatically though, Kathy, when I logged on, I saw that I was muted right out of the gate. So maybe just
Yeah,
make sure
so
you're not muted.
let's see if I
No?
can ask her to unmute.
She just shook her head no. Darn Zoom.
It's been an interesting 2 years, hasn't it?
Oh my gosh. It has cut some meeting efficiency. It has made meetings a little bit more efficient in some respects, that's for sure.
Well, it's funny, like now it used to be, you know, I just sat through a meeting that could have been an email, and now it's
I
like
know.
sat on Zoom that could have been an email.
I know. At
It's
least
like-
you didn't have to travel to it. Took that
Right.
travel time.
I'm not even wearing pants. I got pajama bottoms on. I love COVID.
Oh, no. I really like Teams. We use that
Yeah, we use a lot of Teams. Yeah.
for impromptu stuff, like a quick in and out. And
Yep.
I really like that because then it doesn't have to be so formal. It'll be like, okay, let's all just talk real quick.
That's right.
And then
Yep.
it's done.
That's right.
Let's move on.
Yeah. Yeah. That's been very helpful. We adopted that before the pandemic happened, and I'm so glad that we did it before. But that certainly has helped for sure.
Do you guys?
Yeah,
use it
the
for
only reason I encourage.
Oh, Terry froze.
Uh-oh. What were you gonna say, Nikki?
Do you use it for project management too? Kind of like a follow along?
Not as much. Not as much. We still, depending on our clients' platforms and stuff, because some have Teams, some do not. I don't feel like we have that much more. We've done more internal, but I feel like we could get a little bit wiser about using additional portions of it as well. I don't think we're using it to its max yet, but we all just kind of jumped in. We're certainly using the gifts to the max.
There you go. The chip.
Gifts. Those are well used.
Heart, sad face. Yeah, we it was quite the I never thought of myself as an essential worker ever. And going into COVID, I was so excited. I'm like, I'm going to paint my living room because I'm going to have all this time off, and tore apart my whole living room and taped everything off, and then found out the next day I was going to be working 60, 80 hours a week.
Yeah.
Because all the professional associations went virtual. So it was like, I mean, I had a show 2 days a week for New Jersey ASID, and then I had the DC ones doing weekly, and then Nikki and I got into doing bi-weekly, and it was just like all of a sudden I was like, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
Who knew I was essential?
I know. Yeah,
it was amazing.
For sure. Yeah.
I'm sorry you can't hear me. What age level is this for?
Age 3 to 103. Because I was just saying at the beginning, when people talk about your elevator speech about what you do, you should be able to explain it on a level that a first grader or a kindergartner could understand. And also secretly, the adults that are reading it will learn more about what interior designers really do. So that was the true motive. It's not just for little kids, but you can use a lot more humor with little kids and say things like cushy and, what were some of the other icky, which are part of my normal vocabulary anyway. But
the mom language.
It was fun. I've always had that language. But that was a
so everyone needs to buy a copy and leave it in your dentist's office, your doctor's office, and we'll get that interior design, the importance of having a certified interior designer to the public.
That's right. Yeah, one of them, one of the pages is about a doctor's office. My chair, the doctor shouted, "It's ruined. It's a mess. It's sticky. My last little patient got this chair all sicky, icky, icky." Very technical terminology.
I
Very
see
technical.
that.
But it was fun to then, have a which all the children's book literature that I read about writing a children's book. So I did a little bit of research over the years as well about things. So you always have a challenge and then you have a resolution. So the next page is Fiona scrambled to help. She exclaimed, "I have just the chair." She pulled a new one from her backpack. "It's washable. It's safe. It has flair." The doctor thanked her greatly as Fiona walked along with her pup, but it wasn't very long before they discovered something else was up. So it was fun to do. I definitely, like I said, did health, safety, and welfare. So health was a destroyed chair that had infection control issues, but I didn't say infection control. Safety was slipping in a bakery and specifying a floor with the correct coefficient of friction, but I didn't say coefficient of friction. And then welfare was a school in which there was no place to gather and it wasn't an efficient space. And the teacher was saying that it wasn't functioning well. And as a result, Fiona Finer redesigned it and it became a community space that people were able to interact with each other and gain insight on education. So those are kind of the three problems that got resolved, but highlighted what I consider three of the main things that interior designers do. And then at the end for the adults, I did include the definition of an interior designer as recognized by the Council for Interior Design Qualifications, which that's the dry part. And ASID is listed here as well as a reference. So that's a little bit more of the technical thing, but it talks about code compliance and accessibility and the moral and ethical things that we're responsible for. So
I feel so unaccomplished compared to Fiona.
She's a go-getter.
A fictional character is doing more in a day than I am.
No. Well, she does get around. She fixed 3 of the clients' problems, but she does also have a super cape on, which I'm sure that many interior warriors also feel like we need some days.
Just to shield you from people, if nothing else, to put over your head and be like, I just need a moment alone.
Our interior design department at the firm that I work for, I call all of us interior warriors. And there is a t-shirt that we found that says interior designer because freaking miracle worker is not an official job title.
Nice. That's got to be the Friday shirt. Everybody wears that on Friday.
That one's a little bit, a little more sassy.
Like miracle worker. I
have another book question.
Go ahead.
So in your development, how did you determine how many pages it should be?
So I did do research on children's books and what the length was on average, and also printing and feasibility for printing. So that's what ended up determining the length of, which off the top of my head, I think it's like 20 pages, which did fill up fairly fast. But I did keep that in mind when I was like breaking up the paragraphs and thinking about, I did create a little bit of a storyboard and I laid out the events and in general what was going to happen in each page, showing trying to be dynamic with the illustrations, and I read up about that. Having things that were in corners opposite of each other and layout. So it got into a lot of graphic stuff as well, which I've kind of gotten into graphic stuff as well in my career, doing a lot of signage and wayfinding things and actually some branding kind of stuff. So I thought that part was really interesting to look into. So I did look at that. And then I also, just as reference, like reading my kids' books at night, looking at when they lost interest. Now
doing the 20 pages, is that based on the count of 4 for printing?
It may be. I don't know the whole
Well, count of
maybe.
4 is when you produce something that's going to be book style, they
Okay.
print it in sheets. So
Okay.
if you
Well, that
can
could
do it
very
in
well be.
4s,
Yeah,
you're
it could very
using
well
less
be.
paper and it works it out when you have to put certain blank pages in to make it work that way.
Yeah, there was definitely like a minimum that they recommended
Mhm.
because obviously they need to make it worth their while and not
Right.
waste product in order to do that. So I did work a little bit on that, but then I also did add, a page or two. Like I did later in the, well, as I was uploading, I had kind of like an in-between page with the
Aw.
little puppy before it goes into the title page, which is a repeat of the cover.
And what's
Um,
the puppy's name?
I have been asked that. He didn't have a name,
Oh,
but my cousin, little cousin that I have, who's 5, decided that his name is Theo. So I guess in
Theo.
Fiona Finer, the interior designer, the sequel, I guess Theo is going to take over. I was
Theo
teasing
the
with some, yeah,
theorist. It's
I
going
was
to tell her what she needs to develop.
teasing with my coworkers that the next one's going to be Fiona Finer, the interior designer. Please read my drawings. It's going to be the snarky version.
The one for the parents.
Right.
You got
The
to
one
do
for
it so when you
designers.
print it, you flip it upside down and read it backwards for the
Yes,
parents.
I don't write specifications for nothing. No, in all in jest. I mean, I do truly enjoy this career, but we all have challenges, right?
Yes. Well, I mean, not being an interior designer, the thing that amazes me most is not only how much work goes into what you guys do, but so much science that people are completely ignorant of.
Yeah, so I
You
made
know, it's
sure.
like you're like, oh no, I have an interior designer, but I have an engineer. It's like, excuse me, if you have an interior designer, you already have an engineer. It's
I
like,
made sure, and that's why I made sure to not, I didn't talk about color theory. Well, that's part of it's an important part of our job. It really is.
right.
I wanted to highlight some of the elements that people don't realize that we do. I said in the portion where they're at the school, um, Fiona got out her drawings and made sure the hallways weren't too long. She thought about the walls and floors, made a place where people felt like they belong. So like of course it's important to create an overall ambiance of the environment, but it's not what I focused on, just to try and help clarify
Yeah, I
what may be part of an interior designer's job.
you always, as a layman, you see these, oh, well, Harvard medicine did a study, and if you have a yellow room in your house, it's the room you're most likely to argue in.
Yeah.
That's pretty much, those little blurbs are everything I know about interior design, thus
Yeah.
the space behind you. That's
There's a lot of marketing, and there's a lot of money that's put into marketing as well. I mean, if you look at the paint selection at the hardware store, the way that they market that is much different than so one of the things that I have a certification in is evidence-based design. So every single, and I've worked with clients like on neonatal intensive care units and labor and delivery areas. And one of our clients especially loves evidence-based design and has challenged me to every single element that I specify and design must be supported by science. So I then go through and have to research white papers, which is again a research element that scientists use. Scientists use
right.
white papers. It's not the lifestyle section of the newspaper, which I mean, there can be some very well qualified professionals in that area too. But also you could have somebody just yammering on. There's not a checks and balances necessarily on that as much as a white paper that goes into a journal about neuroscience. So evidence-based design. And I feel like the pandemic has helped people realize the importance of the environment and the science that needs to be behind it. And ASID, I was part of the ASID's task force for COVID, which was super interesting during the pandemic. And I think that I'm really hoping that the world is going to be looking for more science and not just some of the more fluffy stuff, which there are still fluffy elements, but not just that
Well,
as
it's I'd never heard evidence-based design before this year
oh, okay.
because
So it's and that's good that it's
and
coming out.
my daughter she's like, well, she asked me, she's like, do any of your designers that be willing to help me out with evidence-based design? I'm like, I don't even know what that is, kid.
Well, I'm proud of her.
Yeah, she is occupational therapist.
Awesome.
So to do her room, she wanted to talk to somebody about it. So I put her in touch with Danny Polidor,
oh, awesome.
who was helping her with like the different, like, you need these type of handles on your drawers. You need this type of thing. It'll reinforce this and do the colors, and you don't want to overstimulate. And I was just like, oh,
yeah. So
like,
my master's program, funny enough, it was a combination of occupational therapists, physiotherapists, and designers. And so they selected people from both of the groups. Obviously, I was on the designer end, and then there were occupational therapists and stuff. And essentially, we had to learn each other's trades a bit. So like I had to take a bunch of classes on ergonomics, and the whole thing was research-based. Like it was a research-based master's program. But it just spoke so much about how the environment and the physical being work hand in hand, and how it has to be informed by science. So I'm excited to hear that she said that. There's definitely been collaborations between those two fields that.
Yeah, I mean, I know health and wellness. I know you're, aging in place and all this. I'm like, I haven't heard of this. And she's like, oh no, you need to cover this. I'm like, oh, okay.
EDAC is the
yeah, so I just kind of put up on my Facebook page, like, hi, designer friends, anyone willing to talk to my daughter about this?
Yeah.
But it was
that's good.
That's amazing. So you work with working on the science of it.
I do.
Where do you get your scientific fact? Who does the studies that the interior designers are using for evidence-based design?
So the Center for Healthcare Design, which is the group that has a certification, EDAC, evidence-based design accreditation and certification, they do a ton of research. ASID has a bank of white papers as well, and other interior design organizations, which I shall not mention, also have.
We love them all.
Also have research papers that they do. But in general, though, people are realizing the importance of environments and research and connecting them together. So when I do look for white papers, and specifically I'm researching like the white paper end of things, and so there's some different forums like ResearchGate and things like that, where people will post papers and peer-reviewed white papers, things that aren't even necessarily directly related to architecture or interior design, things that are related to neuroplasticity in people's minds and what triggers things like glimmers of self and repetition of elements that they're familiar with. That sometimes we have to take things a little bit more abstractly. So for example, with neuroplasticity, which is just something that I happen to love the topic of, and I've done a lot of research on, people with dementia, by having an environment with visual cues, like being able to see the restroom from the bathroom, the toilet from their bedroom, it gives them a visual cue and a reminder. So things like that aren't necessarily always directly found in interior design databases for research. There's a whole bunch that we can kind of cross-populate, and that's a super exciting portion, bringing different elements from different fields and taking them together to inform decisions, and we're being the gatherers as well of that information, and then making informed decisions to create the interior environment.
And amazing. I mean,
Uh-oh. Uh-oh, I lost you. I can't hear you. Oh, I can't hear you. Can anybody else? Oh, it's coming back. Okay, I hear Nikki.
Am I back?
Yes, I hear you now. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I just think that's fascinating because my degree is in recreational therapy. That's what I went to college for.
Okay.
So it's like the pieces that you always have done make so much sense to me because holistically, you can't just heal the mind and not the body, or the body and not the mind.
Yeah.
And you know, color does make you feel better. And
does.
like right now I'm going nuts with all the clutter in the background here, but it's going to be there till Christmas. So I'm trying not to let it bother me, but it's like, you know, I look at Kathy's room and I'm like, ooh, look at all those lovely books. Like, that's a good background. You know, yours is so clean and cut. And it's like, I'm just like sitting here, I'm like, trying to block it. Like, I don't, not so you don't see it, so I don't see it.
Well, and the research also, just not just the environment of the interior materials, but the space planning and where things are in proximity to each other. All of us know these are super important things.
Yeah, did you see Kathy? Kathy put in, why do you think I'm standing up? So you don't see the mess on my desk. Well, I'll share with you, Kathy. Here you go. Ready? The type of thing that's on my desk. I have a plague doctor.
Yeah, right. I have a princess toy box right next to my foot.
Well, I'll put on our tiaras.
Oh, we've got plenty of those.
Every girl needs at least 6.
Clearly, I don't mind accessorizing.
Yeah. I have to keep it simple. I just do the hair.
Yeah.
But no, it's just fascinating to me how you guys incur all this science in it and people have no idea.
Yeah, I really hope that the pandemic, one of the looking for the bright lights. I do hope that the pandemic does make people more aware of how the environment does affect the health, safety, and wellness of people. So I do hope that that does translate and helps promote, not just, you know, professionally, obviously we all need jobs, but just for the wellness of our entire world.
Yeah, it's well, I mean, some of the things that have come out, like sustainability products and things that have just, you know, with the countertops that, you know, repel germs and things like that. It's just like people are just getting more informed because they just don't want to have to scrub everything.
We were doing that before the pandemic.
You were.
We knew that.
Interior designers knew all this stuff before it. Yeah, it's like, you need flow, you need workspace, you need surface. So, but pardon me. Okay, I had one more question. Let me get back to my note page that I wanted to find out. Okay, you said you did it in InDesign.
I did it in Illustrator.
Illustrator. Okay. So you did it in Illustrator, which means you were able to drop the text boxes and do the artwork.
Yeah, I hand drew the artwork actually, and then I scanned it in, and then I spot colored it in Illustrator out of a palette that I created. And then some things had some textures to them and stuff like that. But I just basically imported line drawings. I tried to be as simple as possible because it's easier for me to draw something by hand, like a character, than it is to draw it on Illustrator. Like drawing a map is easier for me in Illustrator, but drawing like a character, like a puppy wagging his tail, that's not easy for me in Illustrator. It's not easy with a mouse.
Yeah,
so I went.
You gotta have the pens.
Yeah, I went low tech and I scanned it in.
That's okay. I was kind of wondering that because I use Illustrator quite a bit myself, and I'm like, that is some real talent. I'm gonna have to like.
Oh yeah, no, like to do these little squigglies and little flies, and no, it was all just me doodling. That's
okay, because I've got a note on here to see if you'll do a member to member on Illustrator, because I'm like, I mean, I've got the pen, I got the tablet, I play with it all the time because it's not what I do for a living. And I'm like, I can't do what she's saying is such a simple drawing.
So I did, like, I inserted the text because me drawing the text wasn't as neat, but like, so I did some of that. And then I used some free vector artwork as some of the background of things. But other than that, like, all of these I did independently of each other. So Fiona I developed Fiona for every single page on my storyboard. And then, you know, this little friend, you know, there's this one with the fluffy fluff cake on her head because she slipped it on a floor with an inappropriate level of coefficient of friction. And, you know, so I developed each character individually. And then I did bring them all together as individual parts and pieces, because just drawing, of course I would screw up, you know, like the Theo, the puppy, you know, some of them were duds. So if I had drawn them all together, half that drawing may have been gone out the window. So I did them all independently, and then I just kind of developed them and brought them in. And then I just went in and I scanned the black and white. They were just black and white. I didn't color, so that I made sure, because with scanning, a lot of the colors get messed up from print to scan to what appears on your screen. If we could figure that out, we would be bajillionaires, but they're all crazy different. That's why we never pick a color off a screen. So I ended up then just with my palette, I would come in and select the different areas and then spot color them in, which was kind of fun. It was a little bit therapeutic.
And what is your health and wellness things on the color palettes that you selected?
I didn't necessarily have the evidence behind that one. It was just something that I thought was playful and kind of colorful. And then I just wanted to make sure that it blended together. So I
wasn't sure if you did it like as a secondary learning thing, like, you know, when you're sitting with your kids, you can say, where's the yellow dots? You know.
No, I just made it cheerful and something that, you know, obviously my oldest daughter's, her favorite colors are in order: pink, purple, pinky purple, and rainbow.
Nice.
So I made sure that I did lots of colors.
Thank you, but
okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Santa's coming to her house tonight.
Oh my goodness. Enjoy.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
So yeah, I mean, I just think it's amazing. I just
it's very
I couldn't believe you did it Illustrator. I was like, when you were saying you did it all in Illustrator, I was like, there's no way. I mean,
no, and then like the text, you know, this text obviously was not by hand. Right. And so that made it a little bit neater. But otherwise, you know, it was just a bit of a combo. So anyway.
Okay. That's good to know. That makes a big difference on the layouts and stuff.
Yeah, so, and then I could just drag them and drop them and move them around.
So it is 5 to 7. Does anyone else have any questions? And Kathy, you want to chat with us? Penny?
So, and I just want to say congratulations. I'm just, you know, in awe of how far you have come since I saw you as a student member of ASID. So congratulations.
You make me feel a little bit younger.
It's like I have my own past presidents club here.
Oh, you do?
Yes. I do. It's my past presidents club. So, but Corinn, thank you so much. Thank you. I may be in touch with you again to talk to us more about Fiona's development in InDesign and Illustrator, because we're doing member to member where people come in and kind of teach us things, and maybe if you could show us like how you uploaded Fiona and then did the coloration on it would be a great member to member. And we might have to time it around, you know, Easter, so that we can get the Easter sales up.
Some friendly interior design children's book competition.
There you go. Thank you guys all so much. Oh, Kathy's doing something.
I'm sorry we couldn't hear you, Kathy.
But we miss you.
We do. You're the best.
All right, everybody. Big dating game kiss. Good night.
Okay.
Everybody have a great evening. Thank you. And I will send you the link for this when it gets up on YouTube.
Cool. Thanks.
All right.
So much.